It's Fillin and Chillin. Status report. I only have 3.5 tins of these left. I'll probably only have 2 left after today once these are all filled. Plus the full magazines, of course. But we're getting there. Almost through my Blitz food. This Fillin and Chillin. I've actually wanted to talk about it for a little while. Feasibility of PCPs. Baselines of PCPs where I think people should look and think of for a perspective, and maybe they would consider a PCP more over a firearm than what they think now. I don't know. I feel like people just... I've been getting a lot of comments, and people... It's kind of funny. That certain comments will be, you know, acknowledging that they're kind of ignorant to the fact of what air guns are out there, like what the power capabilities are, and then they see like the Zeus or whatever, and it's mind-blowing to them that there's air guns that are capable of doing, you know, that kind of power. And then I get comments saying that, oh, you know, the Blitz is $1,000. Yeah, and I'm like thinking in a perspective that they're kind of knocking it because it's $1,000 air gun. No, they were just knocking it because it's an air gun and it's $1,000 because they have firearms. But I'm just thinking, how does that even make any sense to you? You're not going to get a full auto firearm for $1,000. I do that every time. Always one backwards. You're not going to get a full auto firearm for $1,000. You're talking probably the cheapest one possible would be like $5,000 plus. Bare minimum. And then you have to have the license in most states to even have one. And then you're talking the ammo alone. You're going to be blowing so much money in ammo that you're going to have to be, you know, ready for that. But I'm just thinking, like, $1,000 for a full auto, and it's basically the power of a 22 short, and it's full auto, and you don't need a license, and you can get it shipped to your door, and, you know, the ammo's much cheaper than, you know, a firearm would be. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, now I'm on a mission to change some people's minds. I kind of want to just keep promoting these air guns just for the sake of comparing them to firearms or something. That's what I want to end up doing, I think, for a little bit. Is maybe just, doing some tests and comparing them. I'm not like the financial dude, but when it comes to firearms, alright. If I wanted something that is the power of around a 22, that gauntlet is it's less than $500. You're going to get a gun that's the power of a 22 that you can throw a suppressor on in most states, or in some states now. I wouldn't say most, because I know a lot of states have been changing, except the one that I'm in. They'll never be allowed to have suppressors. But you don't have to worry about the tax stamp, which is $200 just to even have one, then plus the cost of the suppressor for the firearm. And, I mean, you just get that shipped to your door. You don't have to worry about, you know, waiting periods and whatnot. But that thing is, I'd say I'm not 100% sure on the power ratings right now, but I would say that's the equivalent of a 22 firing like a subsonic. And I don't mean like a really slow subsonic, just I mean like 1,000, like something around like 1,000 feet per second. Because that grain's a little bit heavier, but it's shooting just a little bit slower than a 22 long rifle. So, if I get a 22 long rifle, which I have my Ruger American, for around the same price, I can have, you know, equivalent power right around there. The 22, with the Ruger American, you can get, you know, high velocity as well, so you can up it a little bit in the power. This tops out at the subsonic range. But that thing's much cleaner than any 22 rimfire is ever going to be. Thousands of rounds to that thing, and I've never cleaned the barrel, and it's absolutely spotless. But getting back to that, yeah, it's going to end up being more money than a 22 long rifle that, I mean, yeah, it's going to cost you $500, around $500 for the gun, but then you need a way to fill it. There are kits for this. For under $1,000, you're on your way. You can fill bottles on these guns. I don't think you really use the compressor in that range for filling transfer tanks. It would just be for on-board cylinders. But if you can fill this big tank with that compressor for under $1,000, then you don't even have to think about, all right, I don't need a way to fill it anymore. You're just looking at guns you want. And it's like anything else. If you're looking at a firearm, all right, that costs $2,600. It's more money than any of my firearms. I have a Steyr AUG. That thing was under $2,000 when I bought it. People will be like, you're an idiot for doing that. But it's like, no, that was my choice of what I consider value for the money. And I think this is extremely valuable for the money. It's worth every penny that I think I paid for that. It's incredible. And for people who don't know what they're talking about when it comes to like PCPs and shooting them, they just won't know until they've done it. It's absolutely incredible to just be able to fire something that's air powered and just, sling lead like a friggin' firearm would. You just don't. They don't understand it. And once they start getting into it, then they would understand it. But I feel like a lot of people just won't know until they get into it. Until they have first-hand experience, they just won't really know. And that's the thing about it. I get comments, oh, tell me you're a felon without telling me you're a felon. It's like, yes, I understand that it's kind of stereotypical for, someone with a felony that they're limited to PCPs only, but obviously I have firearms as well. And the funny thing is, the fun factor is there for both. Like I said, once you get past the compressor or way to fill, then the price, you're talking, you can get, like, the Zeus is just a little over $1,000. You can fill that with the compressor that would fill that. No problem. I don't see the problem with that at all. Because, just like I said, you can get a 22 long rifle that's $350, or you can get a 22 long rifle that's built on a chassis that looks something like that, and it's gonna be thousands of dollars. It's the same thing on both sides of the spectrum. You just have to look for it. If I want to buy a pistol, a revolver is gonna be the cheap. I can get a very, very cheap one for a couple $100, $300 or whatever. I'm not talking used, I'm talking brand new. But then once you pass that threshold, you're probably talking $500 to $800 is pretty much as low as it's going to get. And then after that, it's over $1,000. That's just for a pistol. Don't even get me started in the 1911s. Because you can get a 1911 that costs $500. You can get a 1911 that costs $5,000. So, if you want to look for ridiculous things in any sport hobby when it comes to price, you're going to find it. But there's also going to be really sweet deals like the Gauntlet. Because to me... Alright, so here's the thing with air guns now. I think the threshold would be the Gauntlet to start people. Because if you can get someone on board with 22 long rifle, pretty much ballistics energy, once they see that, it'll put a smile on their face that they can throw a suppressor on it. It makes a cool noise as it goes down range. It's awesome. You're filling it right back up. All you gotta do is just load magazines. You're just loading lead. You don't have to worry about casings flying everywhere. There's nothing to clean up. You can shoot it in your yard. You don't have to worry about the brass everywhere like I do. You're filling that thing in a couple minutes. You're back up. 30 shots. Ready to go. So this 30 caliber with the same ballistics as the 22, I think as a starting limit would be great. And then you're talking big bore, which this does pellets and big bore slugs. You go up to 357, and this is nearing, I know I can crank this up a little bit more, 9mm ballistics. You don't need this chassis to sling the 357 slugs. There are cheaper models. To be able to have ballistics of a firearm and someone just kind of brings you down the rabbit hole in this in like a familiar way, where you're like, oh, all right, I can relate to that. All right, so if you're gonna get into firearms and you're gonna buy a Ruger American, you know what? Buy this as well, because between the two, I can say this from shooting them a lot myself here, 70 yards. They're pretty much dead on the exact same gun. Pretty much the exact same gun. They group the same. They're shooting around pretty much the same velocity. They cost pretty much around the same. I have the same scope on both. The fun factor is there on both. But you know what's awesome is you don't even need a license for that. You can shoot that in your backyard. Just don't be an idiot. Because you have to understand that that's a .22 caliber energy round going down range. So just got to be as careful as you would anything else. But you set up a nice little spot, or if you just have the room, no one can stop you from shooting that, especially if you have a suppressor. No one can stop you as long as you're. I've never heard of a town that has airgun laws that says you can't shoot PCPs. Maybe there are, but from my knowledge, I've never heard of it. So we're setting the bar at 30 caliber at 950 feet per second from an air gun. I say bring that to the table, show someone who's skeptical of air guns, and then show them that. Tell them for under $1,000 you can already get into the PCP world. That's your rabbit hole right there. That was mine. I got that and I got the Texan. Well, the Texan was a little bit later. But that's what got me going. I go, holy crap. I'm like, you just wouldn't believe what these things can do. It feels so smooth firing these guns. You wouldn't really know until until you're doing it yourself. But I'm telling you, under $1,000 and you can get into the PCP world. And then, like I said, once you got the compressor that fills that, you want the Benjamin Kratos, you just buy the gun. You want a Deanna Bandit, you just buy the gun. You want a Notos, you buy the gun. You can buy this. The whole market is open to you. You can pretty much bottle fill anything with the compressor that can fill that for under $1,000. So I just kind of laugh now when I see these comments, and it's like, oh, it's, this much price because, my firearms are somehow better to me in my head. Well, you don't get a full auto 22 short 33 round magazine launcher for $1,000. There's nothing like that in the firearm world. Good luck. Try and find one for me. Find me a brand new machine gun that you can buy in the civilian market, because I'm pretty sure you have to be like an FFL like level 7 or whatever the hell it is, whatever class it is, to be able to own machine guns and manufacture. So you're not going to get your hands on that. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I guess that's it for now. Okay? It's Fillin and Chillin.